Welcome to the Cult of Games Awards for the community for 2024, which is our chance to give back to all of you little folk.
Rolling around in the stream of hobby awesomeness.
If this is your first time joining us for the Community Awards, the annual Community Awards, we've been very good at this.
Well, no, we've stuck to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a team, we all work so hard on this. And it's basically become a very smooth process now.
It's a combined effort.
Yes.
It is our chance to go through the community and to offer up our awards to the people who have stood out in the community for a whole host of reasons. We break it down into various categories, people doing fantasy or sci-fi, people doing terrain, people just generally being awesome community members, which is obviously the most important part of all, because it isn't a community if you're not being involved. Nobody likes a lurker sitting in the corner being very quiet. And I mean, you don't have to be knocking a ton of projects out of the park or painting a ton of miniatures. You can just be getting involved in the comments, having a stream of consciousness, Zorg, which means we're having to try and work out at what point you're making these comments. I would love to be sitting beside you. You can come and join us on the premieres these days, Zorg, over on YouTube for the Weekender, and all of those things you post will make more sense to us because we'll have it in context in real time. Otherwise, we're just going, he said crocodile. I'm sure that refers to something.
That's my Sunday afternoon routine now, is to log in and read those and go and try and work them out. It's like, this is a proper brain teaser. This is what I'm stemming off the brain deterioration with. It's like, someday, I'm going to have to print them all out and draw and pull little strings.
Oh yeah, red
them
wool.
On the
walls. That is how Zorg goes it. The show itself will be broken down into various categories. Like I've said, we'll have a look at sci-fi, historic, fantasy, the big ones, terrain builders, just people who are absolutely spanking gorgeous community members, and we'll be giving you our thoughts on why they deserve to be awarded this year, and also a couple of runners-up. Our runners-up aren't in any particular order, and because we've gone through a whole host of projects and the like over the year, it means we've actually had to whittle it down to 3 for a short list, but we'll have others in the doobly-doo below as well.
Yeah, so there'll be honourable mentions and stuff in the post, so you'll be able to go and check those out. So
because it's always
a bit of a cliche, but you're all winners, really. Yeah. But but for the sake of this and to keep costs low of making these awards, we do have to pick some individuals. But you're probably better.
You all got wonderful golden buttons and badges and everything else in between. So you've all done exceptionally well, and all of it was picked from projects that we highlighted throughout the year anyway. So if you want to browse through the rest of the projects yourself and check out what other people have been doing, you can always go and check out the honors list effectively that we have for each year, which stretches back many years now, so you can go and check out all sorts of different things. Just change the little number on the end and you'll be fine.
You can come here and see these are the spotlight honor badges for 2024, and you can click into them and see who they are, what they're doing, Starstock, what they've been up to, and just what makes them worthy of a button. And I'm sure people will come in and go, well, why didn't Elmir win something for his Armor Clash? And that's because I envy you too much, Elmir, and that's why. Envy's a terrible thing, and you can never win. And if you were closer to us, I would have your armies away. Also, that massive doc you did for Dystopian Wars, I'd have that also.
Cool.
So there's a ton of people. We do 3 golden buttons every week throughout the year. And this, technically, it's 2024. We do start slightly early because obviously this goes out before 2024 ends. Likewise, last year, 2023's went out before 2023 ended. So we have a little window at the end of the year where there are people still putting up projects and the like, and we don't like to disassociate them from a year just because they've done stuff while the rest of us have been lying around in our fat pants eating pudding. So we do have some
day.
We do have some bleed over as well.
Some of us just lie in pudding eating fat pants.
That's a great way of doing it. But feel free to jump in below. Let us know what you think of each of the categories, the awards, the runners-up we've picked, the honourable mentions, whether or not you think we were right or wrong, whether or not people should have sent me more money to get higher up the list. It's all open to interpretation.
Yeah.
So sit back and relax for the next hour or two as we kick off the Community Awards. Okay, then we have our first category, and this is the Arty Apostate. These are people who have painted a redonkulous amount of miniatures over the past 12 months, putting us all to shame. To be fair, people could probably put me to shame with 1 week's worth of painting, considering my output. But,
Yeah. Like the same really with me at the minute.
Every little helps, right, though?
So we have 2 runners-up, the first of which is the delightful Hazy Boy, a fan favourite, shall we say, throughout the crew for his love of Brain Matter Beige.
Oh,
and
yes.
the diversity of what he throws out there throughout the year. So I also particularly like his avant-garde project naming and pictures, which works as, it's very similar to my own setup. I would say it's almost identical, in fact. So he does all sorts of things, from full spectrum dominance, lovely little 6mm stuff, and a previous award winner on OTT, to Firefight Dead Zone 40k, a load of Conquest, an absolute boatload of Conquest. And he gets through them in short order. I've picked out one project to give you a little sousson of how it works. And this is the Badass Knights for Badass Times, which is the Daniel Mersey inspired Knights of the Round Table that came from Temple of the West.
Yeah.
So here's a prime example of some of the work he does and how his projects are set up as well. Because it's not just that he paints an awful lot of figures. There's some people out there who paint a ton of figures, but all you ever see is the completed, here they are. Whereas Hazy Boy manages to get in and actually show how the sausage is made, which means you can follow along at home if you fancy it. He's been getting very involved with speed paints this time round.
Disclaimers, miniatures not made of sausage.
Oh, they might be. You don't know. But there is Sir Mordred.
Sir Mordred of Cumberland, yes.
Delightful. He's more sawdust than man. But matching the artwork as well from the cards. So I just love Hazy Boy's projects. He just gets so much into them, whether it's the cut and thrust of the actual force being put together or being able to see how he's done it and go, well, I really like the style of finish he's done or the color scheme, and I can go and steal it exactly because he lists everything there. So if you want to get in there and steal color schemes, all you really need is Brain Matter Beige and some quick wash medium, and that's it. Those are the only 2 things that are required. Everything else, you just pull out from whatever paints you happen to use, I suppose. But anyway, yes, Hazy Boy's our first runner-up. Our second, 144 artist, has done a remarkable amount of stuff throughout the past year. And again, he has a real diverse palette of miniatures, shall we say.
The Marvel stuff's fantastic.
Well, that is the one I plucked out, although I'd noticed that, there's birds and badgers in there.
Of course.
And pieces. But yeah, so 144 artist has been attempting to do the entire Marvel catalogue from the comic book edition of Star Wars Crisis Protocol. And it means there's been just a whole cornucopia of cartoon miniatures have been hitting the site over the past year. And just again, the sheer volume of them is great, but also I really like his painting style. Particularly
really nice
how he's put these together. They have a real cartoonish look to them. With the sort of the heavy lining on the basic and stuff like that. And he's a man who obviously enjoys getting his teeth into a whole bunch of minis. And it's really nice to see somebody just, going absolutely ham on these as well. Because you kind of forget how many Marvel Crisis Protocol miniatures there are. Obviously, I've dabbled with it myself. Some of the box sets and the like. But when you start going through it, you're going, oh my God, they did a dump truck. or a garbage truck. I completely forgot they did those. Did a small brownstone building. They've done this Sanctum Sanctorum. There's a ton of terrain on top of all of the miniatures as well. And 144 has been hammering his way through those throughout the year. So it means, if you want to have a chimichanga cart and skull poople bouncing around the place, you can do that. And 144 has been working his way through these relentlessly, like an absolute legend that he is. We have one winner though, and possibly the most impressive name on all of OnTableTop. Friend to Homer Simpson,
Max Power.
It's his brother Jefferson.
He's a president, don't you know?
Jefferson hasn't got a huge amount of projects, unlike the others, but the painting log of 2024 shows just
mad. Yes,
just the heavy lifting that goes in here, up to and including stuff that he did while I was watching the football over the weekend. So I've not been in here yet to tick them off. But Jefferson has. I mean, the Gangs of Rome stuff is gorgeous. There's some really nice bits and pieces in there, but the sheer quality and diversity of what he's put into this painting log is just absolutely sensational, and I really love his painting style as well. He has a very subtle shading. I mean, there are some painters who can just hammer out really gorgeous miniatures very quickly. I think Jefferson's one of those. And then there's other ones, mere mortals like us, who will wash the bejesus out of things or use speed paints or contrasts or what have you. But I really appreciate somebody who can just sit down and put a volume of miniatures out,
power through it,
while actually not just relying solely on dry brush and speed paints or whatever it happens to be. You can get in there and you can certainly see that those techniques are used in places, but in others there is blending or layering or whatever it happens to be. And again, just a bizarre mix of stuff, whether it's the board game pieces or the sheer volume of stuff like
Starschlock,
a game I'm responsible apparently for him getting.
Yeah, you are.
And even though I backed the Kickstarter, he got his after me and has painted his before me, which is also very annoying in many respects. I particularly liked the Expedition Corps there.
It's very well done.
They're beautifully vibrant.
Oh yeah. They're screaming out of the 60s, really. They just have the original series up there, including
it's also one of those. I really quite like the I always enjoy seeing the individual projects where you're focusing on one particular game or one particular idea that you've had. It's always great. But having things like the project log, I think, is a really nice way of tracking how your progress changes from year to year. Like I've done the same thing over on like social media, like on Twitter or whatever. I've done like a list of basically just noting every miniature that I've painted during the year, and just seeing if I can best it now as I go into the next one. I think I'm currently at like 90, something like that, for this year. I mean, I will admit that the fairly large Viva Victory army did contribute somewhat to that.
Yes.
But I think it's a really nice way of sort of like tracking your progress and sort of seeing what you've been doing, seeing whether or not your techniques and the techniques that you've learned over the course of months or whatever are starting to bed in and make it so that the process of painting is easier. Because I think that's a key one, because if you're seeing how... If you're seeing painting slow down or something, maybe there's something in your technique or whatever that you need to go and revisit, especially if you want to try and approach things from a kind of speedy, get miniatures on the tabletop, have them all ready to go on for various games and stuff standpoint. But yeah, it's a great little project, this one.
Yeah. And I mean, you can see some absolute gems of miniatures in here from companies you may not be aware of, or from games you may not be aware of, the likes of Starschlock or Gangs of Rome, things like that. There's another one of our community members at the end there. There's Pete.
They get everywhere.
They should be Crocs. I've been told green in colour, but I've not been able to verify that. But yeah, it's a spectacular painting log.
R.I.P.
Next best thing to Bale and Skull from the Bale and Skull show. So yeah, Jefferson has just been absolutely hammering miniatures out throughout the year. And it's just a joy to see the weird, wacky, and wonderful things that he's managed to lay his hands on and actually paint as well, just for, novelty value. I will say, I think the Heresy versions of those are better than the 7TV ones.
I think they are. I think they're a bit bulkier, I think. Yeah. I think they work out,
me.
Honestly.
There's Star Wars Crisis Protocol again. Whee! So yes, spectacular stuff from Jefferson Powers, the first of our winners from 2024.
Very well done.
And long may it continue into 2025. I look forward to seeing, I want to see bat reps. I'd see lots of your
battle
stuff.
rep log. There we go.
Do that. Show us all your miniatures being played with in their glorious played withness. Which is what everybody wants to see deep down when you get into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. Ben, what is our next category?
So, the next category that we're going to be diving into is Ftang. That's cool. You got to say it like that. This is for individuals within the community that created something utterly amazing that took our breath away. And so there's a few choice ones in here. The first of our runners-up is one that I know is very dear to Jerry's heart.
Yeah.
And this was a big feature of earlier in the year when we did our sort of like breakdowns of stuff. We did them in the golden buttons and all that kind of thing. But this is Goram, who did We Free Men, which was an absolutely gorgeous little project. This was like an exercise in not letting things necessarily stand in the way of you finishing your project, having a focused goal, making use of stuff that they had in their collection to do something meaningful at the end of it and tell a story. And so, yes, the We Free Men is a gorgeous Kings of War army. It's like a Discworldy thing, isn't it? Yes, the Discworldy stuff, and mixing it together with the classic rules for the game, and then turning it into a fantastic project that kind of plays around with scale in different ways. So one of the nice things about this is that obviously the We Free Men, the actual main part of this project, are going to be little tiny fellows. But then that's got to be compared with things that are meant to be massive and out of scale and huge and human-sized. And so it was a really wonderful little project of blending together the stuff that you normally find in sort of, 10 mil and that kind of thing, and then blending it into big 32, 28 mil stuff at the same time. And then also doing that thing that Kings of War is so good for, and that's creating those really fun diorama style bases and telling stories in that sense as well. To kind of get stuff that just works for the We Free Men, I think is a wonderful, wonderful thing there. And just seeing that all come together was wonderful, was really good. And then blending, it looks like chocolate. But now then blending that in with kind of how all the big bases came together for this. This is like a proper display army, if nothing else. Obviously great for gaming as well. But if you saw this in like a cabinet or something, I think you'd be like blown away with how it all came together. The other thing that was really good about this is that, obviously, as I was talking about it, lots of the smaller stuff in there, which is obviously great for the kind of basis of your army. But then when it came to the larger miniatures as well, there was loads of kit bashing and conversion work and all sorts of things like that too. So it wasn't just an exercise in, we'll just do it as tiny, small people, but in a 28 mil game. There was also throwing all the extra stuff in there as well to try and like elevate the project as well. And I mean,
Horace the Cheese.
Yeah.
It's an amazing bit of work.
It really is. Yeah.
I'm not going to say I fought tooth and claw for this one to be the winner. But I was repeatedly beaten down.
It was one of the standout projects for me this year, so I absolutely adored seeing it.
It was nice to see it completed as well, because it was started in the previous year and then sunk into the massive hiatus and was resurrected for the Spring Clean Challenge.
If
I remember correctly, and then just went on from there.
Mm-hmm. So, like as we said, it's fascinating to see what people can do, and with the project system, and you're sort of using that as that boost to get them diving deeper into projects and getting them finished off. Just like setting that interesting goal for yourself as well with the project and being like, you know what, I am going to return to this. I am going to finish it. I'm going to put other things to the side so I can get this done. Moving on. So our other runner-up for this year is a new member to the site, kind of, but in that they've kind of been lurking around for a while, but then they've also come and actually started putting projects together. And this one is from Frugal Max. Much like with the We Free Men from Goram, this was one of those that I was like, this is just adorably awesome. So one of the things that Frugal Max did with their project is that they went through and they started to put together really interesting painting tutorials and bits about building terrain and that kind of thing, usually for diving into role-playing games and all that kind of stuff. But the piece de resistance, the cherry on the top, the glacé cherry, no less, is the addition of the Frugal Dragon, the Cheap Dragon show, which I think is just amazing. And it is going back in time to all those shows that we used to watch when we were kids and just bringing it back to the tabletop.
Hello and welcome to... Uh-oh, we're running out of battery. Cut. Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Cheap Dragon Show. My name is Frugal Max and I am the Cheap Dragon. And today we're looking at the myriad materials for making multitudes of miniatures.
And I have watched every single one of these episodes because they are hilarious as well as informative. And, you know, obviously, Project System is fantastic for kind of putting in all your pictures and all that kind of thing. But it's taking it to the next level and doing something a little bit more with the videos and stuff and just having a bit of fun, I think, is a great next step for the project. And it was absolutely gorgeous seeing this all come together. I watching those episodes, I was like a little kid again. And I loved it. And now I want my own Cheap Dragon.
Higher production quality than a lot of the stuff I watched as a kid growing up, I'm just going to say.
Well, if the set doesn't wobble, then it's not authentic, I don't.
Well, that's true.
That's very true. But yeah, it's a really great project full of really interesting tips and tricks for people diving in to get miniatures painted up. A lot of them, as I say, are like cheap ways to get stuff down on the tabletop for role-playing games, skirmish games, and that kind of thing. Many of the miniatures that are picked up, like for example the dragon here, are toys and things as well. So it's just bringing together lots of fun and interesting ideas and then presenting it in a way that is cool and digestible and can be watched while you're doing a bit of painting as well at the same time, which is always fun. So, yeah, really good.
Go and look for the cheaper things. Go and dig out some Airfix War of the Ring figures or whatever it happens to be, and give those a bit of a go and see how things pan out for you, because it's a great way of doing it.
It is
a great way of getting the kids involved as well, I suppose. Here's our winner, though.
So, congratulations, obviously, to our runners-up. But the winner of Ftang, that's cool, goes to one of the first projects that was picked as a community spotlight golden button of 2024. So we're going way back in time because, you know, time is weird. And this is Murphy909, who did the astronomically awesome Project Cornetto. This is like a mind-boggling project in that they wanted to try and just create the biggest, coolest zombie-style setup for The Walking Dead, but not content with keeping it to a 2x2 mat, a 3x3 mat, a 4x4 mat.
Or America.
It turned into this expansive painting, terrain building, fun project packed with awesome little set pieces and everything like that. Again, as you'd imagine by the title, themed around the idea of Shaun of the Dead and the kind of setups that you would have got back then. There's a Winchester. There's Sean's house. There's a Greg's. There's country roads. And there's farmers packing and their mums and everything else in between. And it was just an astronomically cool project that was just chock full of really cool, interesting tips for building not only urban landscapes, but also rural ones, getting in and doing all the painting on all the different characters, doing it on the buildings, telling the story with all of that as well. I mean, one of the things that you get out of this project is just the like set dressing storytelling element to it. So as we saw in that massive big picture, all that big stuff with, vehicles and everything crashed together, detritus all over the place, all that kind of thing. Things like the construction yard with all the just incidental pieces and things in there as well. It all just came together to create this phenomenally awesome spectacle, and that's essentially the core of Ftang. It's cool, to be honest. And it was absolutely wonderful seeing it all come together. Yeah, gorgeous.
It's the attention to detail blew me away.
Yeah.
In a myriad of places, not just the fact that they have Queen Night on the karaoke on the thing outside, but weird things that people may not recognize. So that is the initial starting set for The Walking Dead.
Yep. Yeah.
That character, whose name escapes me, has that tattoo on his arm in the comic. So he's obviously seen it in the comic and then has drawn it on. So that's fantastic attention to detail.
Mm-hmm.
Ronnie in his Mantic shirt, that Mantic shirt which hasn't seen the light of day in over a decade or so, because I think they changed it, because that was the very first one when the Mantic launched as a company, the blue with the black sort of shoulders and then the pinstriping. The internal parts of the Winchester, having things like the stains on the floor, the posters on the wall, the dodgy carpet that's worn away,
the proper pub carpet.
Yes,
yeah.
All of these things,
discarded newspapers on the streets and all that kind of thing. Actually, wait a minute, that's my carpet. that is the carpet in my hallway. Do you live in my house, Murphy?
Was your house a pub?
Wow,
it's a good question. Like, you two can play poker.
Yeah,
and he's done that, because I think that's a little Dreadball or Dead Zone cabinet from Train Crate, but obviously they don't have those in the Winchester, so he's overlaid it with poker game instead. Jukebox, the
amazing bar,
dartboard, and this is just one building out of
a few
dozen,
all of those. Like even things like the corner shops fully stocked with all the stuff you'd find inside it, so you've got all the bits and pieces in there. It was phenomenal. Like, there was a reason why when we came back in the new year and saw this, we were like, well, this has to be one of the first projects we look at.
Oh god, yeah.
Give a gone but to, and obviously, celebrating that at the tail end of the year as well. So it just seems like a good idea to me. So
even things like that, where they have the plague pit essentially, and then alongside that, the piles for a foundation for a new building.
For the buildings that go on top, which you don't need, but
no. But it means if you leave the buildings off, then you have building sites.
You have the construction site,
they just operate slightly differently, because you've got all those little areas that you can lurk behind to try and stay away from the walkers. It's just an absolutely phenomenal project, and I think it was our first Golden Button of 2024. It
was.
It all sort of came in, it culminated between us doing the award ceremony last year and then the start of the year. So there's this little dead period where
Walking Dead period
where he dropped it in. It was like, well, we can't ignore that.
No.
There's no way we can say he can't be a candidate for a prize simply because he happens to have done something while we were slacking off on holidays. So I think it's a worthy winner. And,
I think so.
And my word, Ftang is that cool. It is right up there as one of the first and also one of the best projects we've seen this year in its entirety. So congrats, you, well done.
Excellent.
Now, something very dear to my heart. It's historical projects, and we have some amazing ancient disciples to look at. So these are Kelsoprees, people who have done historic based projects.
Yeah.
Because you can go a little bit pulpy, and you'll see that with our first runner up, because it doesn't have to be dyed in the wool 100%. This is the most historically accurate thing ever. It just has to fit into a historic period.
Does that mean we have to make an ancient Prester or a Pulp disciple category? Oh, God damn it.
Yes.
You get both awards and we smash them together.
It's the best way. Put them in a blender. Put them in a blender and spin them around. So our first runner-up is Blipivertus. We've coupled two of his projects together here, really, to give you an idea of what's happening. He has had a substantial Building the Old West project, which has gone through all of his painting, modelling, building the terrain and scenery for the Old West, including, like I say, pulpy things, Cowboys versus Aliens, anyone? That amazing film with that...
with James Bond?
You say James Bond, I was going to say that lieutenant who got done up by Sharp and Harper because he was a scumbag.
Good shout. Yeah.
But either or. So this project in itself would be a worthy entry for the ancient disciple. Just getting in there, getting the nitty gritty of putting together your Old West town, and then having all these gorgeous shots of the actual gangs that are going to be fighting within the town itself, whether they are cowboys, Indians, Tong, lawmen, whatever happens to be. And they've been sort of brought together from a whole host of manufacturers as well. So it's a really eclectic mix of stuff, which I like.
Yeah.
There's the all right corral. It's not quite as good as the okay corral, but slightly better than the mediocre corral. So yes, you are glue, livery, and stable. I mean, anybody who's a fan of Blazing Saddles will appreciate the humor in here. And this is just putting it together. Alongside that, then we also had this delightful battle report project where all of these pieces that have culminated in a set of sort of linked battles, gang warfare within the town itself. And so you get to see some battle reports blow by blow as the Wild West is won and tamed, which is all great. And there's some terrific stuff in here. There's some really nice bits and pieces, especially with buildings, because I have quite a fondness for the Wild West myself. So I have some bits and pieces, but I'm missing things like some jails and other bits of buildings. So it's nice to see somebody else going and finding the bits, and then I can just go, that's handy. I'll just order those. It's so much easier than working it out for myself.
Very true.
Yeah. Quite like the brick wallpaper as well on the inside of the building is very...
Yeah, he's not kicking his way out of that.
No. Very clever, Mr. Bond. Very clever. Hands tied behind his back. He's in for a beating anyway, which will teach him. But that's what happens when the Pinkertons get you. They'll come around your house and steal your magic cards. That's what they do, the Pinkertons. Oh, just the worst people in the world. So yeah, these are two great projects for anybody who wants to really get their teeth into the Wild West, or just read a load of really fun little battle reports as well, and just see how things are going down and where the rootness, tootiness, shootness are coming from.
Yeah,
which is always good to see. So that's our first runner-up. Our second runner-up is another period I really like. It's the Dark Ages, and I will continue to call it Dark Ages, even though I know people don't like me doing it. But I'm not at school anymore, and you can't stop me. So that's how that goes.
I think you'll find it's called the early medieval period now.
Yeah. Like I say, not at school anymore. Can't make me say that. But Night Runner put together a fantastic Viking diorama, specifically to, as it says here, say farewell to the old Vikings. This was a homage to a piece of fantastic artwork, and also to a selection of Viking models from Wargames Foundry, or Classic Citadel for some of them, before Brian went and started elsewhere. And this was just such a unique vision, shall we say. Because while I have a lot of these miniatures, and I certainly have that boat, if I was thinking of
everyone has that boat.
I was thinking of putting together a diorama, sectionalizing it like this wouldn't come into my head as the sort of the initial idea behind it, but it's absolutely superb. And it's one of we don't get to see a huge amount of little bespoke dioramas like this, but every now and again somebody in the community will do an absolute stonking one. Actually, I was about to name another one from a previous year, and I have a sneaking suspicion it might be Night Runner as well. I think
was
about
it the
lantern?
The lantern with the tree man in the background? Maybe it was Night Runner.
Anyway, yes, there are some really nice dioramas that may or may not be made by Night Runner. But this is just superb. Yeah. Seeing all the Vikings painted up and then the boat cut and inserted into the drink was just great, because when you're sitting on miniatures that are going on for 40 years old, in fact, some of them might be 40 years old already. Oh, yes. You might go, well, old miniatures, they're not up to snuff. Oh, look at what we can do these days with computers and AI and stuff. It's so much better. And then actually seeing somebody going, I think they'll actually look spot on when they've got a paint job on them.
Yeah.
Obviously, a few bits and pieces were remodeled to match into the actual picture itself. So beards extended and cloaks added, things like that. But overall, the majority of the figures are as the sculptor intended. I think they were Colin Dixon, possibly. I can't remember. It's been so long. That one I absolutely adore. I've got him somewhere in the house. And last time I had him painted on a miniature, he was standing looking up at the Marauder Giant from below. Going, cool. Yeah, I'm going to knock your tackling. But yeah, it's a beautiful little project, very self-contained, and it's nice when it's, it is what it is. It's
a good send-off as well.
Yeah, it's just a well-rounded little project showing the idea behind it, the miniatures, the diorama. It's not a warband. It's not a full army or battle report or anything else. It's just a homage to the artist and then the sculptors as well, by putting these on here. So yeah, absolutely superb stuff from Night Runner. Corking bit of work in the Dark Ages. Just a shame it couldn't win.
Gosh,
but then not everybody can be a winner, unfortunately. So, we've got a good one for the winner, Collins, and he put together a project that is absolutely insane. So with Collins doing his winter offensive, you can see the completed project has got, again, like Night Runner, he worked off sort of selection of artwork to get a feel for how he wanted his winter to come together, and then start to build on it from there. So there's a really nice starting point of the style of army that he wanted, not the specifics, not the I'm going to be playing this force because this is the best force in whatever game. It's here's what I want to put on the tabletop. I want to do a winter force with the great coats with a lot of camo, whether it's winter or a mix of sort of P dot or oak leaf or whatever happens to be in there. And then go off and start to develop the list and miniatures that are needed for it afterwards. And then you get this really nice sort of step-by-step guide to putting together your own winter force, even down to things like testing winter basing types, how to do it. He's managed to do it in one little picture. I've got an hour-long video on it. Not sure who did it better. But yes, so you get the first steps from the ground up, if you will. This is how the basing is going to work. Here's how the miniatures are going to go. And then the army list as well. And just sort of slowly over time, this whole Eastern Front force gets put together to deal with the harsh realities of the frozen front there. And it's a spectacular set of miniatures in a really nice setting, and then all displayed with these great little backdrops, which I think are John Hodgson's backdrop book, which just sort of sets them in the scene. They're just whether they're coming across this sort of Bailey Bridge or pontoon bridge over the water, although that could be frozen at this time of year. Missed a trick there.
Don't want to be going slipping on that when you're trying to aim your rifle.
No. Now all I can think of is the breakdancing German. Have you seen the picture?
I know the picture.
Yeah. It'll be inserted here by editor. It won't be. But anyway, there are just countless examples of really nice miniatures being painted up beautifully, but also then having all of the sets, I suppose, to showcase each of the miniatures as well is particularly nice. This poor bugger out with his jerry cans, no gloves on. Hope he gets
to those.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope he gets them off his fingers when he gets inside.
Find a knife. Where's the fingerless gloves? Oh no!
Coming storming out of the tree line, and then retreating back into the tree line. I'd only assumed that there was some sort of PPSH Russian assault squad just at the other side there. Time to retreat back, lads. Yeah. We've made a terrible, terrible mistake running out of our only cover.
I think one of the things that's quite nice about the project is that especially when you dive into World War II, I think there's a tendency to feel like you have to try and do like it all. Like if you're doing Americans or you're doing Germans, you have to try and do like the German army as the whole thing, and you have to get all the vehicles and all that kind of stuff. Whereas I think if you focus in on a particular offensive, and I think it's one of the things that's been quite good about things like the Warlord games, Battle in the Bulge box and previous starter sets as well, is that they kind of get you started on a theatre and a particular engagement or a portion of that conflict, or a different front, be it the Eastern Front or Normandy or all that kind of thing. And so something like Colin's project here, where it's just focused in on a particular key few battles and that kind of stuff on the Eastern Front, is a really nice way of approaching it. And also doing it in winter is a challenge as well. So like taking up that challenge, I think is a fantastic thing to do with the project.
I think deep down everybody loves painting white. Isn't that right, John?
I don't know what you're talking about. I know that I prefer when I'm painting white, I prefer to be doing it as like the faded whitewash scheme that we have here with that 222 because you can mess it up and still make it look good. So
it's absolutely, it's a cracking little project, and a really nice primer for anybody who wants to dip their toe into World War II, or if they're already playing World War II, maybe take it into winter and take it into the Eastern Front and do something a bit different, because you've got everything from the 250s up to your sort of recon elements, your command groups are all in there, and then there's all of the intricacies of basing and everything else. Oh, look, you want a golden button.
What?
are all in there, including things like little Panzer. Everybody loves the Panzer III so much. I so much prefer to see that on this table than another Tiger.
You're not wrong.
Which happens too often. But yeah, so just the whole force all having that beautiful theme, and I don't know whether he has an opponent who has an appropriate Russian force to play against, or maybe that's a project for 2025. But
all his opponents using summer stuff. No.
Oh, there you go. So it will be a project for 2025. Then you can
or desert rats. Oh, what? Stone versus sand? Ah,
it could be worse. Could be coming up against Burmese fighters or something. Yeah. Chindit, drink.
But one of us just dressed wrong.
Yeah. Well, you play both. So you play one using snow, and then you play one playing sand, and then the inappropriately dressed army at both occasions take massive penalties.
There you go.
So either your snow Germans start collapsing through heat exhaustion, or the Tommies get frostbitten in places they don't want to be frostbitten in. And it's like playing chess. You have to play both sides.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a spectacular project, and I really loved seeing this come together from the bare bones at the start all the way through to the completed force. And like I say, the just the touches of doing all the little setting pieces is just absolutely gorgeous.
Makes a big difference.
Yes, it does. Yeah. It's absolutely cracking. So he is our winner. Well done, Collins. You are our ancient disciple.
Ba-ba-da-ba. You get
don't call us. There is no cash prize.
Now it's time to indulge in the world of sci-fi with our cosmic creators. Ooh. Now we start right. So all three of these projects are ones that I'm fairly sure Jerry would say should be a winner, and I pretty much agree. But we're going to be starting things off with a first runner-up, which is 42, who has once again been painting stunning Star Wars miniatures. One of the things that 42 has been doing over months and months, I think at this point, is, well, obviously the best character ever, is... if we say so ourselves, is going through and effectively, I think at this point, trying to paint every character that has ever been in any Star Wars property ever. And as you can see there, Balen Skull was one of the more recent additions to this collection. But that is not to say that it is all Balen all the time, even though Jerry would love that to be the case.
Wow.
Just random pictures of Balen Skull everywhere. How
you win one of these next year, folks.
Yeah.
Here's my Dark Age army with Balen Skull.
Yeah. But the focus has been on a lot of things like the TV shows and stuff that you find on Disney Plus, and so for the likes of us things, that's like Ahsoka. 42 has gone out and picked up all the different miniatures you can find from various creators out there on the internet, done a little bit of 3D printing, and then got them all painted up in sterling fashion, as you can see. 42's paint style is great. I mean, as you can see,
the cloth work alone is superb.
The cloth work's amazing. The detail work on the armor, facial details are like pinpoint. The glows for the lightsabers looks gorgeous as well. And then working on things like the basing to kind of like set it in the particular place that you want it to be. And then effectively working on bringing the characters that a lot of people know and love to life on the tabletop in such an amazing way that mirrors the shows so well. And then, as Jerry's showing there, it's not just the case that 42 goes in and paints the miniatures, also comes up with full rules for them all as well. So if you want to play Sabine Wren or Ezra or Ahsoka, 42's got that here in the project system for you to go and have a look at. So if you find the miniatures online and you really like them and you get them all painted up, come and check out the project and get your hands on those as well. I think there's like a few tweaks and sort of updates to Legion as a whole in this.
Yeah.
So there's like different ways that 42 has themed the game to work a little bit more like they want to, rather than it necessarily just being the game that Atomic Mass have put out there, or Fantasy Flight as well, obviously in the past. But yeah. But as I say, like, it's not just been Ahsoka that's been the focus of this project. There's been lots and lots of stuff by 42 over the course of not just this year, but last year as well. Lots of different vehicles, terrain pieces, various characters, armies, and everything else in between has popped up as part of the project. And it comes together to create a stunning repository for somebody who wants to get their Star Wars fix. And if you like Balen Skull, there's plenty there for you. So,
never heard of him.
Never heard of him. Mr. Skull, never heard of him.
Congratulations, 42, on
Fantastic
being a runner-up.
Yeah. This was a seriously hard category.
It really was.
As you'll see when we dive into our next project. So the second of our runner-ups is Rumble, or Rumbly8, who has been putting together a brilliant bot war project. Big favourite for us here. We've played a couple of games of it, obviously, on the channel and things, but obviously really enjoy the range. Lloyd's a big fan of it, as well as Jerry and Shay throwing cars at people. But bot war has...
PTSD kicking in.
But bot war has become something of I'd say something of like a speciality for Rumble, who has built up astoundingly good armies painted in this like proper full-on studio level. I think, does he even do actual painting for traders at some point? Or
he has done,
yeah, in the past with like different releases and things. But one of the things that I love about it is that, again, a little bit like with 42's work or some of the other larger projects that we've seen in the past, this provides people with a really amazing resource for getting into painting a particular army. And it's one of the strengths of having the project system as we do, is that you can dive into it and just see all the steps for how people have brought things to life. And if you're ever worried about like, how on earth do I paint the vengeance coils and all that kind of thing for Bot War? Well, there's a huge resource here of lots of different pictures taken astoundingly well. They're not all upside down or like Jerry's, which are like blurred.
Action
shots. Yeah, sorry. That can be used as reference for all the things you do. It's also incredibly sort of like aspirational and inspirational, because you look at this kind of stuff, and I'm fairly sure a lot of people go, Traders Galaxy, buy some Bot War.
I was going to say it's sale room beautiful.
It is sale. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
So but you look at this project and go, maybe could just buy a couple of things.
You know, one of the most annoying things about this project is every February they do a paint your stuff in a month. Yeah. And it can be anything. It can be, you know, a couple of figures or a big figure, but it's do something, paint something every day. So it doesn't have to be painted to completion, but you can do it across the 4 weeks of February. And this entire force was painted. To be fair, cheated this year because it was 29 days, but this whole force was painted within a month.
Yeah.
And that's aggravating, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. But yeah. Just the level of work that Rumble puts into the miniatures is great. It's one of the things that I always love seeing, especially on big mechs, is good glow effects. And Rumble does a very nice job on glow effects. So yes.
Yeah, it's absolutely
really awesome.
Cracking stuff. And nice if you want to do a bit of body goodness. And also something a bit different as well, because the standard coils are red and black. This is a alternative color scheme, if you will, which just goes to show that it's like anything. Yes, you can follow the box art or the studio paint job for your force, especially when you're playing like a sci-fi or fantasy game. But don't let that stop you from just going completely ham, or just go off book and take your own designs and just do something absolutely magical with it. And it was really, really extensive force as well. He's got pretty much everybody in there, including his ground and air forces as well. Who would have thought they needed those?
Yeah.
Don't they have enough bots to deal with? But yeah, cracking stuff.
So obviously fantastic runners up there in 42 and Rumble, with both Star Wars and Bot War there. But there is a winner. So the winner for Cosmic Creator goes to the fantastic Marine, who did a project earlier this year working on Steel Rift. I think there's a bit of a theme going on here. Marine did this one as a little bit of a challenge as well. So obviously we've seen something that was done over the course of a month. This one was a little bit of a kind of like a, can I get this all done before my son goes back to school kind of thing and goes home after spring break. So they were given the Steel Rift set for Christmas. And the idea was, you know what? I'm going to dive in. I'm going to get all of this painted up, get it all finished, everything that I need to start playing so I can dive in and do some battle reports and all sorts of things like that. And enjoy the game with my son, because that's clearly why he's bought it for me, so that he can play it and doesn't have to do any of the painting. And what followed was a absolutely fantastic project that sort of dove into every single corner of bringing this project to life. So there's the building step, there's sorting out the weapons, there's working through all the different components to find out what kind of mechs and vehicles and things they need to build. There's breakdowns of individual models and sort of what they're going to be used with as part of Steel Rift. And then, of course, there was all the painting element to it as well. So it was going through and it was picking out a, maybe not like the highest end scheme at the very end of it, but a really solid, great finished look to the miniatures, that they would be gameable on the tabletop, quick and easy without too much faff. And as you can see, it's a phenomenal little bit of work on across both factions effectively as they all came together. It was the freelancers and the authority, I think it was in the end. Yeah.
Respect.
But the thing that I really, really liked was just simple, effective schemes making good use of brighter colors to draw the eye to particular elements of the miniatures, and then doing just a little bit of detail work here and there, like kill markers and all that kind of stuff, just to kind of bring things up a level on a couple of the different miniatures, just add a bit more character, a bit more narrative and all that kind of thing. But all in all, when it came together, it was just a really good little run through of, I have all this stuff that's been sitting here for, well, at this point, what was it? January, February, March, like 3 or 4 months. My son, who you'd hope was your friend, really wants to play a bit of Steel Rift. Let's just get it all painted and on the tabletop and have some fun with it. And as you can see, I mean, even as they're going into the basing and weathering step of all the minis and things like that, it was a fantastic little project, and one that should be very inspirational for a lot of folks out there, hopefully, as well. So,
like you say, it's simple color schemes for both sides, nice bit of basing, some pin washing, and then some dusting up the legs with powders, whatever, just to sort of give them a bit of a grounding, but really striking and easily recognizable forces on the tabletop as well. It's like you're not going to mix up which grim dark force is fighting which grim dark force. As a black cat fights in a sack at night. None of that nonsense. It's like, yes, here's the authority, here's the freelancers, here they are bopping each other in the face, and even
some buildings as well.
A set of buildings for the tabletop as well. So just came together double quick fashion, and shows again what you can do if you just chip away at it. Whether it's a daily thing or a weekly thing, or X number of hours a week. Give yourself a time limit, and I think so many people get hung up sometimes about perfection, as opposed to just go, here's my date. I want them playable for that date, and if that means they're good enough, or they're maybe a bit slipshod in places, or maybe they're not getting 15 passes of weathering powder and chipping and blah blah blah. Who cares? Because painted force looks better than an unpainted force on the table. And being able to chuck those down along with those two armies, I mean, I would absolutely love to. So anytime you want to bring them around to Korean to play again,
it shows you the importance of a good solid base color with a good complementary accent and some shading. Because that's doing most of the work there. Like that little bit of shading and the contrasty colors is just great.
This is spanking gorgeous.
It's fantastic. It's a really good,
really
good project. I definitely want to know whether or not Marine got those games in with his son. So
yes, I imagine the battle report's coming.
Hopefully, 2025. But yes, fantastic runners up and a deserving winner there in the form of Marine for Cosmic Creator.
Fantastic stuff. Well done to all of our winners and runners up. We're going to go all change. I'll be back with the next categories in just a second. We've swapped to John for Justin.
Hello.
It's all change. Musical chairs. That's very party atmosphere.
Switching shirts as we go. Actually, no, we've all been very good.
To be brutally honest, John and Justin are just wearing the same shirt. That's why we can't have the pair of them on at the same time. Otherwise, one will be bare-chested. While Ben's thinking about his fantasies, I thought we should look at some other fantasies. In this case, the Master Magus are amazing fantasy projects from our community members. For our first runner-up, in no particular order. You can flip these around either way. I don't mind. Tell people you're better if you want. Nobody can argue with you.
Fight!
We have a spectacular set of Little Uns from Nos Bigdamus, which is an amazing name to begin with. But they have been putting together a Kings of War army for the League of Rodria / the Hieflings, using the spectacular Arabian-looking halflings from TT Combat. I say that, I don't think they're with TT Combat. They've shuffled them off to somewhere else now.
Oh,
You'll find them on a different website.
Google is your best friend.
Yes. So it's very simple. Idea was just to put together the Sultan of Swede and have a lovely little halfling army for Kings of War. And as you can see, they've got the Judea's people's front and the people's front of Judea.
I mean, I'm loving the musicians, just with the oversized loot.
There's nothing oversized about that. It's just the people holding it are under tall.
That's
yeah, it's clever.
Just regular loots.
Yeah.
It's nice to see that the splitters are getting back together, though, which is always great. But he's got just such a really nice, distinctive poppy color scheme for his little halflings. And also the fact that Kings of War lends itself to being a bit avant-garde when it comes to what miniatures you use and what roles they play. So in this case, these Jinn get to be trolls. They can also easily become allied air elementals if you really wanted to.
Could go that route, yeah.
Yeah, nobody's stopping you.
3 genies, does that mean you get 9 wishes?
Oh.
One for the scholars out there.
3 times 3, and it's even more.
Which is squared.
Yeah.
Cube all your wishes.
The cacti are very cool.
They are nice.
Yeah, I really like these. And again, they're simple color schemes. It just gives you a really evocative feel of playing in the desert with your little hiflings. Again, running those as trolls as well. I think those would make more sense as forest shamblers, and I've told him, and he agrees. But he's not gone back to Photoshop that out.
Yeah, but all he's going to do, Jerry, is go, McKeeb, I'm doing it my way, and you can't make me.
Yeah, but they're better. They're just better. Why would you not?
A little bit
his
cavalry.
sandbaggers, yeah. So there's a couple of different cavalry types available for the little halflings. So they could be wild runners or joggers, depending whether they want to be sort of light or medium. But it was just a really cute one and done project. It was just like, here's an army box set, and I'm now going to put an entire army together. Bosh, here I am. I'm Dunskies. Now I can play Kings of War.
The whiz bangs are super cute.
They're nice. I quite liked that it was touching a couple of neat things within sort of like this fantasy sphere, because for one, it was a halfling army, which you don't get to see enough of, I think. So more halfling armies is always a good idea.
Yes.
And also going down the kind of Arabian route and doing that vibe with them and painting up those miniatures, I think was a really nice way of sort of bringing an alternative look to a fantasy army on the tabletop. Because the temptation is always just to do kind of like, Western European green fields, heavy armor, all that kind of thing. And instead, Nostradamus went down that route of doing sort of the Arabian Nights vibe and played around with different miniatures and things to kind of bring that to life.
I will say, and 40 thieves don't have 40 thieves. I count it. You can go back and count too.
Yeah. But they count as 40 because it's a horde.
There you go. Yeah. And also, the purple and yellow paint scheme is brilliant. I love that.
It's corking. I keep looking at doing a Arabian style army like the Magi from The Mummy. All black with blue turbans.
Just Brendan Fraser running away from them out front.
Yeah.
Yes. It's the best way to run away from
You're on the wrong side. You're on the right side of the river with that project. Dang.
Yes. Anyway. So yes, well done, Nostradamus. Cracking work. Just not quite there. Another person who just fell slightly short is Guru 335. Who was doing Slonia, Warlord's game of Celtic fun and fantasy frolicking whimsy.
I was expecting a different F there, but okay, let's go.
You can definitely put them in. So this,
especially with Slonia involved.
Yeah. Kiss my axe is possibly the mildest thing he says. But this is a really nice project because it's complete. Warlords keep releasing these things via the medium of rebellion, poking them with sticks, going, if you want to keep Judge Dredd, then you must do other things. So they release games that have a very finite shelf life, I suppose, which means you can get everything and then it's complete, more or less. And in this case, he's done the same sort of thing, breaking out the Brillo pads and the scrubbers to do his hedges and thatch roofs and the like. So he's got all the terrain being put together, which is always good. Look, Ben, you two could put trees together.
I could. Or I could pay a dude in Scotland to do it for
me. Apparently that is what you do. Yes. But pushing on from the terrain side of things, I actually got into going ham on all the figures and getting those all painted. So the first thing was working through a sort of detail wash, I suppose you would call it.
Yeah.
And this is something I have a friend
appreciate.
does an awful lot, where it's a good way of seeing what is where on the model before you start throwing base colors down.
It's almost like a classic inking of a metal miniature by a company to show off the definition.
To show off the definition and detail, exactly.
That was always the step we took with those.
Yeah.
Quick, either a quick prime and a wash or just a wash if we were feeling lazy that day.
But then after that, it was all about getting the paint on the miniatures.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a mixture of speed paint, contrast, regular painting, depending on the area of the model that required it. And they turned out absolutely corking.
The miniatures for this game are just so characterful. You know, even though it is Rebellion poking Warlord with sticks, they don't do it by half.
Well, that's true. Yeah. The other thing that I quite like is that the contrasty speed paint style fits nicely with the more comic booky feel of the Sonya stuff. So it works really well with the artwork and kind of feels like it vibes quite nicely. Which is cool.
I actually saw a thing recently. Someone actually took a car, like full life-size car, and just did a comic book paint job on it.
Oh, wow.
It looked ridiculous.
What, like cell shading it or something?
Yeah, they literally like cell shaded and put like speed strikes down it as if someone had been drawing it from a comic book slide.
Wow.
It's Tex-Mex Motors did it.
Oh, well, there you go. Look that up.
It's well worth a watch. It's a good laugh.
I don't care about cars.
I don't know. I always liked Pimp My Ride when I was a kid.
Cherish my ignorance on that subject. But yeah, he did some terrific work, keeping very much in with the comic book style.
Yeah,
there's good old Yoko himself, who often would get an F appended to the start of his name. And I like the fact that after doing the sort of the contrast and like using the solid paint to do the tattoos, and the war paint on him,
and a little bit of tartan,
because it really stands out massively on the skin. It looks like somebody's just gone in there and gone full woad all over the place. It was another spring clean thing that came out.
I think so.
That it was just a case of, I've got these setting, I may as well get stuck in there and actually paint them all. There he is as the king. I much would have preferred him to have the full Billy Idol hair.
Yes,
because that would have been absolutely cracking.
That would have been cool.
Giving everybody the devil's pitchfork.
Minty white hair. Yeah.
Yes. Well, it just goes to show, if you have the motivation and also the focus and drive to go for it, then you can stick together a really nice project and at the end of it have something that's just complete self-contained game that you can just dip in and out to.
Feel of it.
Yeah. Which is always absolutely cracking.
Congratulations.
But there can only be one winner. And again, Guru, wasn't you? Just fell short. Unlucky. Any of these could have won.
See, there's the wound. It's just little line of salt. Just rub it out in there.
Yep. That's why I'm here. Suck it up. Anyway. Yes. Only had one winner. And any of these three could have been it. The likes of Goram's We Free Men could have been it as well.
Could easily have been here as well.
There's always difficulties in picking the projects for the various categories. So there's a lot of nebulous moving, and I'm sure people will tell us why we were wrong later on. But
it's your prerogative,
It's all right. We don't read your responses anyway. But our winner is Holly, who was doing Moonstone and Whimsy, which is separate from the multi-award winning Moonstone. Whimsy comes.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see it. So Leshen, Lashevult, a Moonstone project, Woodland Whimsy.
I think this one earned a golden button a good while ago.
It did. Yeah.
Oh, many of them do. And you can see why when you've got things like this. So the little homunculus having all the bits and pieces drawn in the back of the book for the Elric to read. Don't know what's going on here. But skulls are always a good sign in any magical book you open. We learned this from Army of Darkness.
Skulls plus pi equals.
No, it's like my old math textbook. It's in high school. It's just like, I'm bored. I'm just going to doodle a skull.
Oh, and awkwardly,
Nothing sinister here.
I've now summoned the Cthulhu. Oh dear.
Yeah. Never learn summon before you learn bind. This is how it goes.
Yeah.
But this was just an absolute darling project, not just because it's the multi-award winning Moonstone, but I really like the object source lighting coming off.
It's so good.
The Moonstones. This is something I talk about all the time because these games are meant to be played at night when the Moonstones are out, glowing away.
Mm-hmm.
And they just have so much character.
Yeah, so those cooler blue tones.
Yeah. And, matched by Chubbs' rosy red cheeks. Because he's probably had to run to keep up with
clearly it's a cold night. He's had to have a tipple.
And the fact that the Moonstones were shaped to be like D4s, they would be in when you're playing the game and stuff, is a really nice touch.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a really nice set of figures that have been beautifully presented, and I just adore the extra step of the object source lighting that comes through. Even the likes of Gloom here, who has his lantern but doesn't have any moonstones, but still has that feel that he's creeping through the undergrowth in the night.
Yes,
my favorite has got to be
the actual Leshen. Yes,
it's actually a Wendigo.
We finally find one, right? Yeah. So.
But technically Wendigo.
Oh, God damn it!
It's a Leshen. Absolute filth when he was playing La Chevalte. He's very difficult to put down. But all the extra basing details and the like as well. So things like the
Gamer's Grass stuff.
The Gamer's Grass, the laser cut plants. Yeah. Just to add that sort of, we've come out of the forest, which is very, very typical of the La Chevalte, specifically the fawns anyway, creeping out of the darkness.
Ooh, creepiness.
Speaking of Danica the witch as well, looking absolutely superb with her sisters.
Well, the thing we've always said about Moonstone, in any game that has like a smaller amount of miniatures that you're looking to bring together for a warband rather than an army, is that you can put that extra bit of effort into things like the basing and the set dressing that comes alongside that, and then of course the paint schemes as well, because you're not finding yourself having to batch paint your way through 20 dudes and getting bored of it halfway through. Each one of those is a nice self-contained project.
Everyone is a character. Everyone has a name and a backstory. There's no junk. Well, murder bunnies maybe. Apart from the murder bunnies, there's no junk in Moonstone. And even things like the Angie murder bunny, the tactical jackalope, which again, absolutely gorgeous, has a real cartoon feel to it as well. And then more importantly, has dirty bunghole, which just reminds me of the bear talks to the rabbit going, do you get annoyed with shit sticking to your fur? And the bunny goes, no. Then the bear picks it up and wipes its ass with it. It reminds me of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I'm here. Thank you, buddy.
Why?
So the Moonstone stuff was absolutely gorgeous.
This was one of my favorites.
Lump.
Yeah, with all the beautiful glow effects done inside just so cleanly.
Yeah. I'm skipping away from all the Moonstone though to get to the start of the project, because the non-Moonstone Woodland Whimsy bit comes in massively there, which is this piece of work, which
so good.
Just a resin fantasy Treeman Ent, what have you, from a completely different company. The Mean Tweets Treeman from Robot Rocket Miniatures. But this was absolutely gorgeous, and it shows something that you can do with contrast or speed paints, but not a lot of people do, which is use them as glazes and use them for wet blending. The medium itself lends itself to that so beautifully, and being able to do these smooth transitions, the soft changes in tone and hue from the greenery into the wood and then down into almost a ruddy humanesque nose is just terrific. And it's something that opens up this style of painting to a lot more people who wouldn't necessarily go, well, I'm not good at doing transitions or wet blending. You can do it with the likes of speed paints or express paints or Scale 75 Insta paints, which are specifically made for this.
Oh, right, okay.
More than blending. They're all about glazes
Squirrel.
and layers.
Yeah.
Yes. So
it was the eyes that did it for me. Like the eyes are so characterful.
Yeah,
the emerald green
just
eyes.
looks so sad and tired.
Yeah.
That's
He's been reading too much of Jeremy Clarkson.
Somebody's just been chirping in his ear all night. 2 blue birds. Too much time on Twitter. Is that what we're saying? Satire. Could be. Might not be. But yeah, absolutely gorgeous work. Obviously, throughout the project, all of the multi-award winning Moonstone stuff is cracking. But I think is
this the one that pipped it at the post?
Yeah.
The big mean tweets.
It's just so good. So
it's absolutely gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
So that is our fantasy winner. Holly, congratulations. Well done, you. And Nostradamus and Guru just have to step it up a gear next year. Maybe put 40 miniatures on the base for the half. We would have given you it, but Justin carried them all.
Off. I mean,
and then he said no.
Yeah.
He said if we give it to you without 40 miniatures on that 40 Thieves base, he would cut us. So
next up, we're going to be going from the world of fantasy to that of pulp, and looking at some of the amazing pulpy, post-apocalyptic, horror, weird stuff that has been added into the project system over the last year or so. We're going to be starting things off with the first of our runner-ups, as Jerry said, always interchangeable. This one is Ewok Kebab, the tastiest of meats.
Username on the website.
Yeah, who put together a absolutely fantastic, essentially gallery car showroom for Gaslands. When this popped up a couple of months ago now, just scrolling through this was just essentially like inspiration on a site, effectively. There's all sorts of different things in here. So, obviously, Gaslands, fantastic little game where you basically take Matchbox style cars, or you could take whatever you wanted, really. You could do it in different scales if you wanted to. And you just add on all the different bits and pieces that you've got in your bits box and beyond and turn them into vicious racing machines to take over the Gaslands and those post-apocalyptic futures where you want to be racing for oil and everything else in between. So you've got things like flamers and all sorts of things bolted onto the back of cars and everything else in between. And so obviously Ewok has done a huge amount of work with this project to bring a vast array of cars together to use in the game. And so there are loads of different designs that could be really inspirational for you. So maybe you've got a bunch of Matchbox cars sitting around, or you want to go and nick those cars that Lloyd bought recently and just forget about his idea of a racing game and turn them into something else.
I don't know. Some of the little vehicles Lloyd buys are hyper expensive.
Wow, yeah.
Not even super expensive, hyper expensive.
Even more reason to turn them into something to game with rather than just sitting on a shelf. Yeah. And so
this just drags me kicking and screaming back to the early days of my video gaming career when I was playing Carmageddon.
Yeah, Carmageddon.
Yep, Batmobile.
Derby. Yeah, all sorts of different things. But the other thing is, I think with this, I believe it was Ewok Kebab, they also took a bunch of Gaslands with them to do some games at like conventions and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So they are not just somebody who paints up the garage of cars and then just sits down and sort of says, cool, look at all that. Fantastic. They actually went the extra hog and sort of took it out on the road, showed people the game, got people excited about Gaslands and all that kind of thing too. And so just in general, an absolutely fantastic project for those people who want to get a little bit of inspiration when it comes to where to start with Gaslands. Hit that project up and I'm sure you'll find a car that would work for you. And if you want some tips and tricks, obviously you can ask Ewok about. I'm sure they'll get back to you in the comments as well.
Stunning stuff. And just the sheer volume and diversity of the, like you say, the garage he's put together. It's like a stable, having a stable of horses. In this case, he's got a stable of cars that you can throw in there. No bikes, because nobody likes bikes. Why bother?
Yeah.
The only reason to buy the Sons of Anarchy board game, because the bikers in it were the same scale as Matchbox cars for Gaslands. You just throw the rest of it in the bin. Chuck the game away. Anyway.
Honestly, when they re-released it as Wise Guys, it was actually a better game because it wasn't Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, Wise Guys was actually pretty good. Yeah.
It's the exact same game. Exact same game engine. It's just not pinned to a TV show that doesn't exactly fit.
And I hate images of screenshots and things in board games. Anyway, right, before I go off on a... before I go off on a tangent.
I was ready to go.
Our second of our runner-ups is Night Runner again, Forever the Bridesmaid. And this was one, again, that was a real favourite. The Aquaman toy repaint, which was crazy. So, obviously, everybody knows that this is the real Aquaman. Not that other guy, not Conan, right?
Whoa. The real Conan will always be Schwarzenegger.
I have things to say about that, but that's for an XOBS. Anyway, I'll leave you hanging on that one. But yes, so basically had taken a toy, effectively, of Aquaman, and then went through the stages of turning it from that kind of bare plastic, sort of, cool, look at this, fantastic, I can put this on the shelf, into something that was truly phenomenal. The end result of this is like mind-blowingly different, and you could look at it and think it was something like a sideshow collectible or something rather than just a toy that had been repainted. But all the different steps that Night Runner went through when it came to painting this are really well documented, really well put together. The techniques are superb throughout. Once again, Night Runner doing that fantastic thing of being very singularly focused on a particular project and making it the best that they possibly can be. And just, I mean, seriously, when you see it at the end of it, it's insane.
Looking at a comparison of the two of them, one of them looks like it's been painted in the early 90s and the other one's been painted modern day. But it does go to show you that sometimes a good sculpt with crap flat paint on it just needs a touch more shading and it will just start to pop out at you.
And it's just like, it's night and day when you look at it. And oh yes, as someone has, weirdly enough, following on from what you said there, Justin, if you ever feel bad about your painting, remember that WizKids miniatures exist and people play with them. So there we go.
Well, here's the thing. Whenever I first looked at that, I thought the sculpt was absolute dog crap.
But then when you actually see it picked out and all the definition and stuff,
whenever the work's put into it. I mean, right, perfect. We have a comparison because you can see every detail that's on the repaint is already there. You just can't see it because it's all flat, crappy colors.
Just flat painting, But then going in and doing a little bit of highlighting work, lots of shading. I mean, the base as well is really, really well done. And I love the little backdrop to the miniature as well. All the little bits of sort of weathering and things on the trident is really nice. Sort of getting across that kind of sea green, algae, coral look and the glow effects and stuff. Just a brilliant end result.
As an idea, well done.
But as we said, unfortunately, wasn't the winner of this particular one.
Go catch the bouquet.
So the winner of Pulp Prester actually goes to Elysium, who put together a project fairly recently, going back to their childhood and their love of boys' own adventure books and those kind of stories, and then taking games and systems and miniatures ranges and blending it all together to create a fantastic new sort of project, essentially. So a lot of the miniatures and stuff have come from things like the Copperstone castings range and things like that. And then inspiration has then come from the books and things that Jerry's been showing off here. And then on top of that, you also have the actual mechanics and the stuff as well, which is a mixture of was it Beyond the Empire and setting the East ablaze, as well as adapting and changing things from Silver Bayonet into, as they called it, Red Saber, which I think is quite cool. And the whole idea is that they wanted to bring to life every single one of those awesome stories that they read as kids and tell a new story with that on the tabletop. And essentially that's kind of what's driven the whole inspiration for the project, really. I think a lot of it came from the fact that Elysium and their brother went off on a tour of Uzbekistan and visited different places in that region of the world where they'd read all those stories about and all that kind of thing. And so this was a really neat way for them to come back and almost celebrate that and use it as the inspiration for driving forward a project. And I think that's a really interesting thing to take on board when it comes to your games or your projects or your collections in general, is diving into stuff and really being driven by your passion. Because if you're driven by a passion for a project, then the likelihood is that you'll get to the end of it a lot quicker and you'll enjoy every step along the way, rather than feeling like you're diving in and having to do things because you need to make the next 2,000 points or something like that. And hopefully you'll see even more of it as Elysium dives back into this in the new year, maybe tells some battle report stories and all that kind of thing, and takes...
Please do it like Atlantis.
Really, really cool stuff there from Elysium, and I think you'll agree, a worthy winner of the Pulp Prester award.
I absolutely adore the fact that he had the idea from those actual Pulp books, setting the Empire and Blaze, and then it's like, here's a rule set for it, but then also Silver Bayonet's big these days. How can I rejig everything into something that's a bit more easily accessible, shall we say, as a game, but not just doing the same Napoleonic slog horror that everybody's doing. Let's push it into early 20th century and take it into strange places, and then have to deal with dark young of the woods. So good luck with that. I don't think you've got enough pulp in your pulping machine there to deal with those. But yes, 3 terrific entrants for our Pulp Prester. And we're going to push on and have a look at 3 more from our Masonic engineers. And these are people who have put together a particularly spectacular piece of terrain. We're going to be kicking things off with the first of our runners-up. And this comes via Corax. Corax has done a particularly gribbly Necromunda set of terrain.
That is a good descriptive word.
Yes. It has a real feeling of texture across the board, be it rust, grime, soot, or slime. It's all kind of in there. So using a variety of oils and paints and stippling to get sort of the texture on it, so you don't just get flat colors on your pipes. It actually does look like it's not just worn away, it's in danger of actually rusting completely off the wall, which is, I think, spot on for the very bottom of a spire where sump trickles down. Something like that anyway.
Well, I mean, one thing I'll say is this actually really illustrates what John was talking about last week on the XLBS, about how things rot, corrode, and degrade, how the rust will attack certain bits of metal, how much water staining you're going to get from it coming down in a certain location. I think this highlights it really, really well. Well done.
And for people playing along at home, last week's XLBS wasn't last week. It was probably about a month ago. But good luck finding that.
Oh, apologies. At time of filming.
That's no help. They don't know when we're filming this.
That's not my problem. That's not their problem. Leave me alone.
I love the tiny, this, apart from the fact that you eat a ton of macadamia nuts, which is always good because they're explosive if you leave them alone for any length of time. So you need to eat them.
Got to eat them.
Yeah, otherwise it's dangerous. Just using mixed medium, shall we say, to get this.
Turning them into weird little
peculiar,
creatures
or
vermin
eggs or sacks.
some sort of limpet or shellfish.
I'm sure they're a delicacy.
Oh,
yeah. Hive.
Well, delicacy or not, if it's your only source of protein, you're going to be this. But yeah, it's just been a really spectacular display of techniques and ingenuity. So you have oil dotting, which is an old school weathering technique for a lot of military modelers. They'll be very familiar with the oil dotting, but then using things like crackle paint as a base layer, and then even like pumices and stuff like that to get that whole texture. So it's not just flat, it's not smooth. It has a bit more wear and tear of something that's been down at the hard end for a while.
It's always sitting there for a millennia or two.
Yeah. And it's really, really fantastic to see somebody put together such a spectacular set of terrain with a really distinctive, characterful look to it, which makes it as much of a feature piece on the table as the actual gangs that are going to be fighting in it themselves.
Yeah,
nice.
Very true.
Yes. Well done, Corax. Or can I call you Cox?
Buy him a beer first, at least. Be a gent about it.
Next up is Mark Greentree, who's been doing some spectacular terrain building. Come diorama again. This is one that could have flumped into a couple of different categories, but he's been showing off his hobbit holes, and everybody likes a good hobbit hole.
Yeah,
I mean, it is a defining vision. I mean, it's the first line of The Hobbit. They lives in a hole in the ground, not a dirty, filthy hole with worms, but a nice warm hole with a round door. So when you're beginning a seminal piece of fantasy like that, it really does make the homestead the feature for the hobbits. And I suppose you get that with Lord of the Rings as well, as they're plucked from their safe little shire and thrust into things. They go from the sort of the basic home life. But this again shows a variety of techniques, from the ones and zeros, like what the modern kids like to do, to old school
foam and clay and all sorts of things,
green stuffing,
breaking out the das, whatever it happens to be, to try and sculpt it and have those things sort of embedded, is absolutely terrific. And then obviously you've got a little dock there as well, so it means you can have the little water pores, which people always like to do. And this, just the step-by-step of it. I know you like your pimps, Justin, but I like people like Townsley on YouTube who do these extravagant diorama builds, and just seeing those coming together over time is just absolutely superb. And this is very, very similar to that.
I mean, it's a gorgeous little snapshot of the Shire.
Yeah, it's wonderful. All the little tiny little details here and there are gorgeous. The big rolling hills to the back of the hobbit holes, all the flowers all over the place, the fish in the river.
I'm sure anyone looking at this just instantly has like that opening music from The Hobbit, where it's just coming down into the Shire.
A little bit of concerning hobbits.
Dracula. Is that The Hobbit?
On the back of Gandalf's car.
Yeah. I've not seen The Hobbit, so I'm not sure how it starts. I'm assuming it starts with Rob Zombie. Everything's better with Rob Zombie.
Oh, can you imagine doing like a heavy metal Hobbit army?
Oh yes,
and you knew it was true because it was real.
Yes, but yeah, it's
anyway
an absolutely spectacular piece of terrain work, and it's one of these things where it is just the terrain. There's no miniatures. You can set whatever you want on there to display them, and I really hope he does have a selection of really nice.
I'm fairly sure he's got some Merrys and Pippins or something that he's had wandering around on this. So,
yes,
I do love even the tiny detail of just little bits of food left out. Now, honestly, not realistic, because if that was the Shire, that is gone. Guaranteed that is not sitting there for more than 5 minutes.
Are you saying they're all thieving bastards?
No!
You're allowed to say that.
I just said they're hungry little dudes who can't help themselves.
That's outrageous, Justin.
I said no words came out of my mouth. It was all Jerry. In fact,
oh my God. Look, there's Sam and Sam's missus with kid.
Yeah.
Mrs. Sam. I can't remember her name.
Rosie Cotton.
There you go.
I would have lost my Middle Earth card.
Trust our resident hobbit to know it.
Yeah, Fatty Bulger, the hero of the Shire that everyone forgets. So yeah,
it's the one who told the Nazgul to get stuffed.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
was he the one who was nearly big enough to ride a horse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was.
Here we go.
Hubbo Mick. Longshanks. The tallest of all.
Oh, defeat!
Banderbus took. There we go.
Why do you imagine Ben was just like off the side with the phone going, find it?
Yes. Oh, dear.
Full of a took. Anyway.
That was close.
Yes. Well done, Mark Greentree and Corax Cox. But you're not the winners.
No.
Our winner comes from early in the year. And this comes courtesy of Cowboy Gamer, a board we actually got to see in person, unlike a lot of the other things that we have to see vicariously through the project system. But this was a spectacular piece of terrain building that was put together specifically for a display game at Salute last year, or start of this year, I suppose. So they were putting together the board for Space Weirdos, which is a cracking game, much loved, certainly by the Plastic Crack podcast. Aficionados will be very aware of Space Weirdos, but it's a very simple skirmish game that you can sort of use whatever you want with it. And in his game, I think he has, you'll see pictures of them as we scroll through. There's Daleks and all sorts of stuff kicking around the place. Even won an award. Yeah.
And I'm willing to bet that's because you were giving away free candy. Everybody's bribable.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. But just seeing this come together over the course of the weeks leading up to Salute was great. Then to actually see it at Salute and get a chance to get down and have a nosy around it. So things like the stenciling on the barrels to show the radioactive waste that can be strewn around the place. And also red barrels always explode. We know this.
Yep. We've played video games.
This is a role.
All played games. 8 different teams of things, from laser raptors to Walking Dead to the crew of the best Battlestar Galactica.
The only Battlestar Galactica.
Correctamundo.
I am not going to die on this hill.
And some Cylons, Space Marines of a hair persuasion, and Daleks. So weird and wacky stuff, but we're here for this. And this was an elaborate piece of, I suppose it was more the detailing side of things. The construction itself, a lot of it was 3D parts. But then when you got down to it, having pieces like your generator that lit up in the middle of the board itself. And the board was assembled with sort of tiers with ramps going up and down, so Daleks could actually get up and down without just people running up a set of stairs and laughing at them.
Consider it.
But it means you can, when that was lit up, you could see all the shadows being cast into the bottom areas, all the additional handrails, because they are important. Star Wars, we're talking to you. You should have a handrail so people don't fall off.
Why is it okay when someone else says this? When I say it, I'm the weird one.
Everybody knows that. You should always have those 2 guys standing right there as the beam was firing out the Death Star. They could have just, if they'd taken a step back, they'd
gone. No, I've been saying it for years.
Health and safety is not a joke.
Although I tell you what this reminds me of. It really has the feel and flavor of, if you've ever played it, Ben, the Adeptus Mechanicus video game, where you're going into the Necron Tomb world. The actual layout of this board really echoes that vibe, and not so much the aesthetic, because obviously Necron, but the actual feel of the layout and how it's thought about whenever you're building that kind of a space to play in.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. I also kind of looked at it as like an XCOM map as well. You could see if it as on one of the interior locations of that. As well.
I was thinking of it like Kirby, where you're jumping in
that too, Jerry. That too.
Yeah. Sauceless now. Suit yourselves. Anyway, so just
a bets.
Yeah, an elaborate build that just came together so beautifully to have just a really tremendous board that not just they could play with, but also they could introduce a whole rake of ne'er-do-wells who go to Salute to Space Weirdos via a spectacular board setup and a whole bunch of weird and wacky things. I mean, it's not often you'll see one of the most fascist things in the galaxy coming up against a Dalek. So it's good times. They're Space Weirdos.
Because the Daleks only want to exterminate you. They don't want to oppress you.
Yes.
So, yeah.
They're Space Weirdos if people are looking for it.
I need to actually check out Space Weirdos. That seems really cool.
Yeah.
Skirmish Heartbreaker. Okay.
From Garsky Games. But yes, the whole coming together of it from
really well done. Yeah.
From the initial concept and the design work through those cadulars or whatever it is they call it. It's probably not even CAD these days, is it? Anyway, but yeah, having to design all the pieces and then print them out and assemble them to get the sort of core components, and then once that's done, make the whole board, get it built, get it weathered, get it detailed and ready, and then light the thing up. Was just spectacular.
Seeing this, it looks like they're building from 1-inch squares.
Yeah.
That is commitment, or something you could be committed for.
It's the awesome stuff that people who make the boards for Salute go through. It's something that I think has been kind of lost when it comes to the Warhammer, the official Warhammer events. We don't necessarily get the big boards that we used to get, things like Games Day and stuff like that anymore. But Salute, as just one example, is one of those holdouts of big, impressive, fun board layouts and terrain setups.
Yeah,
and
completely impractical for day-to-day use, but when you're going to a show, it's well worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, even day-to-day use, that's I think it's was it a 3x3?
4x4, I think.
Yeah.
So it's, it's the standard sort of board size here. You can get plenty of play out of it.
Oh no, whenever you see some of the crazy ones.
Oh, but I mean, even those things like the Big Mordheim board, that's used on a regular basis by that club. But this, what Cowboy Gamer put together here, go and find somebody who's already done the STL design work for you, but actually just going, you know what, I'm going to actually design it.
Scratch.
Yeah. Which is, it's a skill set. I mean, if you put me down with balsa wood and some foam, I'm as happy as a pig in shit. And plastic card I can tear away with. This, I wouldn't have a notion of how to do the design work and the like. So it's another skill set entirely, but absolutely superb. The final version, the final look at it, was just terrific. So, Cowboy Gamer, you are our Masonic engineer.
Congrats.
The apron will be in the post. All right, all changed once again, and Brother Lloyd has joined us.
Hola.
For the most auspicious of selections of awards.
This is like the creme de la creme.
Yes.
Yeah.
The bestest bit.
This is the head of the Guinness.
It's 100%. The creamy topping that hides the bitter blackness underneath. Just like my heart. That's why I've gone grey on top.
Yeah.
But we have 2 awards we're going to be looking at in this little segment of the show.
Yes.
And the first one is an interesting one for many reasons. Because it always throws up unusual people. And sometimes you're looking at them going, oh my God, have they only been with us for a year?
Yeah.
It feels like they've been here forever.
So yes, our first award of this little segment is going to be for Neophyte of the Year. So this is a new community member, and this one goes to someone who has knocked our socks off on many occasions, actually, over the last little while, including in recent months. And I mean, there's no gilding the lily. There's no runners up. It's just straight into the winners. This one is Scarhand Painting. Clap, 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 clap. Way! So Scarhand has, I think, lurked for a little bit on the site relatively and sort of like seen what was going on in the background. But over the last year or so, we've seen a fantastic explosion of awesome projects that have turned into brilliant showcases of a variety of games that are just bloody awesome. At the heart of it, Scarhand does a lot of commission painting and stuff. In fact, I think that's mostly their job really. But they also take their time to kind of share what they've been doing over the course of different projects, bringing them to life and doing really nice photography and everything else in between. And also dancing in their photos with a pair of maracas as well, because why would you not?
Well, yes.
So, yes, of course.
That's how you know the magic's happened.
That's how you know. This one's complete. But one of the things that's been really cool about this is, as I mentioned before, the photography from Scarhand is brilliant. Every single one of the projects that you'll see that we look through here, there are fantastic, including that one, there are fantastic pictures of all of the different terrain and stuff that they've been working on, the various miniatures they've been doing for different projects and all that kind of thing. And as we've talked about in the past during this show, it's one of those things that's really nice as like an aspirational, inspirational bit of work in the projects to kind of like get us excited about the idea of painting terrain and painting up miniatures and getting ready for armies and that kind of thing. And even though Scarhand comes at this from the viewpoint of like a commission painter, so he's obviously doing things based on what other people want and things, I think a lot of the techniques that they use across the different miniatures are things that you could feasibly replicate quite nicely. Obviously, a few of them are incredibly high end and all that kind of thing. But one of the projects that I really liked over the last little while has been their Hate project that they did.
Well, before you move on to that, though,
the
thing they're doing here is they're taking standard kits and not just putting it out as a standard kit. They're actually putting the extra effort in. If you go right up to the top of that project, Jerry, there's a big wide picture of all the adjustments he's done to everything that's in that project. This there one here. Click that. Look at this.
Yeah.
Look at all the flipping differences he's made.
The gribblies, the extra bits, the kit bashing.
Oh, the gribblies too. Yeah, all them weird little tentacly looking things. And I really like the color scheme he's gone for as well. When you see this all painted up at the very end of this project, there's a picture of that all laid out, which is spectacular.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like the whole process is documented through, and so you can see the base components effectively, I suppose, for the various tabletops, and then at the very end of it, you'll be able to see like how it looks when it's all painted as well. And it's something we talked about it on XLBS like at the end of November. One of the nice things about seeing stuff like this is that you look at terrain, and in those early steps, you're like, this looks awful. And then when you start to actually get paint on it and start, getting in all the glowy effects and all the things like foliage and that kind of thing, or foliage, as Marge would say, you get this really awesome sort of finished product. And I think Scarhand is a master at doing that as part of their projects.
But the overall color scheme for this is great. The complementing of the autumn colors with the blue source lighting and things he's been doing.
And I mean, that was just one project. This is the one that I really liked. So Hate was one of the games by Adrian Smith and Simon a few years ago now. But one of their clients wanted to get everything painted up. And so one of the things that was really neat about this one is that it's going in and doing what a lot of our community members actually do, which is big board game focused projects where they take all the miniatures and just get them done. Like we've seen a lot of people doing that for Mythic Battles and that kind of thing. But the stuff that was really nice about this is that it was kind of taking Scarhand out of their comfort zone in a way, because I think they talked about it in one of the earlier posts in the project that they actually tend to do quite high end stuff, following very, very sort of like established techniques.
A commission painter. Click that image, Sergio. This explains the setup, because I was looking at going, that's an amazing setup. I was looking at all the little bits going, I don't have that. And I don't have that. And there's something there, right? You see just under the dangly things on the ceiling, right?
Yes.
They're slightly over to the right. What the hell are those? Those look like DVD cassettes or something. Or CD covers or something. I don't know what the heck they are.
Yeah.
If
I was answer that in the
I'm sure Scarhand could. If I was a betting man, it kind of looks like possibly grass tufts. Lots and lots of packets upright, and then the smaller ones on either side. But it might not be. It might be pencils. It could be anything.
Maybe
I think you've hit the nail on the head. I feel like a complete div.
If only there was some way we could ask him. But there is
Scarhand,
no way.
You're our only hope. But as I say, like not being afraid to dive into painting in an entirely different way and bring that to life as part of the project, I think has been fantastic. And I've always been fascinated by grim, gritty paint schemes, and seeing what Scarhand did with this project, I think was fantastic, especially because there's so much flesh on
so
show,
much flesh,
barbarians, and so making it so that it doesn't just look samey. I think is a really great touch here from Scarhand, and going in and doing all that extra work is
they'd all be the same whether they wanted it or not with me. True. They'd all be the same color, whatever the plastic was, because they wouldn't get painted.
Very true. But as you said earlier, Lloyd, with the terrain stuff, like it's the little touches that help to bring all these minis to life.
What's he got there? A tub of fire or something? What was that?
A tub of fire?
What is that?
I think it's fire lava.
Fire and lava. Fire lamp. It's like a cracked earth texture.
I'll steal that.
Another one of the benefits of the project system. You see what people do, you steal it for your own projects. So there we go.
When did board games start having so many miniatures? This is ridiculous.
Once Cool Minier, not the website for people's paint jobs, worked out how much money they could make off people. That's when.
Yeah.
What sort of army is this? They're not orcs, are they?
No, they're humans. They're
twisted nuclear barbarians, basically.
Yes.
Oh, so it's post-apocalyptic,
but in a world where they've kind of lost all sense of what a gun is. So, yeah.
Best kind of apocalypse.
Yeah.
Get back to proper warfare with phalanxes.
Get up close and personal.
Yes.
Use a batleth.
You mean like sort of like medieval sort of warfare, Jerry?
No, better than that.
The year is coming to an end, and Lloyd will still not let Jerry go.
Well, I'll get right onto that medieval stuff as soon as my room's built.
Never gonna happen.
It's the joke that keeps on giving. It's the joke that keeps on giving. So, but yeah, like it's really interesting seeing what Scarhand's done technique wise throughout all the different projects, because I think that really helps to kind of get your eye in on sort of how they approach stuff. And you can see like a lot of commission work I tend to see pop up as the finished product. And I quite like that Scarhand's taken the time to show the steps of how they've got to this point, so that if you want to try and achieve those looks yourselves, you have the option to do that as well. So
yeah, I like it. Yeah, it's like really he teases you the whole time going, look how crap this was when it started. Look how amazing it is now I'm finished.
Exactly.
If you're never going to get here, you're just going to stay in the crap zone.
Yeah, that's the takeaway.
100%. But yeah, he's done some magnificent stuff from...
he really has. Yeah.
And I mean, the first time...
Ice and Fire stuff is stunning as well.
Yeah, the first things we've seen from him were, I think, the 10mm War Master train.
Yeah.
Which may have been part of Train
I think it was Train Fest last year.
Yeah. Which was the first time he'd sort of popped up on our radar going, hello, people. Here I am. I'm doing stuffs.
But now I'm here in full force.
Now I'm here, all up in your grill, making you very, very annoyed that you can't paint as well as me.
The fact that he's commission painter makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at this going, why is he painting this army? Who the hell's ever going to play him with this army? Now it makes sense.
Now we know.
Oh, look at the storage solution further on down. Love it.
That's cool, isn't it?
Some magnetic trays going on
Mag
there.
trays, yeah. I've seen so many people using those kind of trays nowadays to transport their armies.
I've got the mag trays from Battle Foam, the first ones they did. And they were not cheap. And they've only got more expensive since then.
Oh.
I suggest people don't. Just don't.
The ultimate storage solution could be an oven for making bread put on wheels.
Sure.
Never going to break your minis in that.
That's true.
Break your back moving it around, but the minis would be safe. Unless someone turned it on, then it would be complete mess.
What if you got a couple of dogs hitched up to your oven on wheels?
As soon as you said dogs, I was with you.
To drag your minis from place to place. A husky team towing your minis in their massive oven. Why does it need to be an oven, Lloyd? Explain us that.
Because it has the trays. And it has a glass window so you can tease everybody with how nice your minis look.
Good.
I've thought this through. This isn't off the top of my head.
No, when you went into Greg's and you saw their bakery oven behind you, you were like,
Greg's. I will say you are off the top of your head. Very much so. But I see where you're coming from now, so I can't really argue with that in any way, shape, or form.
Fantastic stuff there, Scarhand. A well-deserved Neophyte of the Year. Fantastic work. And keep it coming in 2025.
If you're going to go out there and be a new community member, that's how you throw down the gauntlet to anybody else who's planning on coming in. Yeah. Although we will say it's not all about the painting. No. Sometimes our community members are just nice people who get involved.
Who help others in the community. Yeah.
God bless them and all who sail in them.
That's not a mast.
Speaking of nice people who help everybody out, we have the final award for 2024, and it's one of the most important, if not the most important awards we give out, and it is the Andy Zeck Memorial Award, named after one of our dear friends and long-time community members. And we give this out to somebody who sort of epitomizes Andy's bon vivant, the getting
bon
in
vivant.
There and just being a thoroughly nice person, getting involved, and just sort of being the epitome of what a community member is all about.
Yeah, the joie de vivre. Yeah.
Yes.
Let me sum this up. We're giving this award to a chap we think is ace.
Yes.
There we go.
Bon vivant.
And terrible man.
Jerry turned into Del Boy for
this year. This time next year we will be millionaires.
Yeah.
This year it's going to Jam Iscat. Jam has been tottering around in the community for years now. He is always active, be it in the comments, in the weekenders, on the various channels, in people's projects, whatever it happens to be. He's always there, lending a hand or having a chat, or if he's in the House of Water, #BestHouse, joining me for a movie on our House of Water movie nights. Just getting involved in the community, which is what it's all about. You can see they've also done a whole host of projects, and many of them have got these lovely Shaco and Sprues show report little links. And this is one of the main reasons why he sort of came to our attention for our Andy Zeck Memorial Award, because there's a ton of fantastic conventions, war game shows all around the UK, and he visits quite a few of them. And when he visits them, he gets in there and does these show reports where you can actually watch really nice videos of all the stunning tables that people have set up. So if you can't attend these myriad shows around the UK, then it's nice that James is there, and while he's there, he spends probably a good amount of what could be gaming time actually just going around and showing off what clubs and individuals from around the country have put together for these shows. And this, at the heart of everything, we are a wargaming community, and this is what it's all about: the games on the table and showcasing what people have done for their war games, for their clubs and conventions, which means you get to see things you would never ordinarily see. I mean, I'm not likely to get to half of these, and some of these war game shows are tiny things. Obviously, people know all the big ones, Partisan and Salute and the like.
Well, look at this. This is amazing. This is like watching Red Tails.
Yes.
Only better.
Only better.
The best of fighter plane movies.
It's the best of I mean, I could have used a bit more Trade Federation sort of Senate hearings and stuff. I've only managed to get some of that woven into it. But yeah, just seeing what people have done epitomizes what wargaming is about. And it's nice that James uses the fact that he's there as an opportunity to showcase these things for other people.
Is that some sort of fucking train?
That is a 40k train. Why do you think I picked this one, Lloyd?
It's a Doctor Who train. In this case,
look at the massive purpley explosion / fungus. Who knows which it is? The choice is yours.
I'm going with fungus. It's like something I had to take pills for one time. Looked very similar.
I was going to say it was like, remember the rainbow candy, the popped.
Oh,
it's like those
crackly poppy stuff.
Yes, yeah. And this, I just absolutely love. I love the show reports, because you get to see stuff that people have lavished attention and care into to show off what they love, be it, Napoleonics or Dark Ages or medieval. Rome, for example, people are doing fantastic games all up and down the country. And sometimes the only people who'll see them are the ones who happen to be there or their club mates. So being able to actually see what people are doing, and you just sometimes go, I really, really fancy doing To the Strongest now, or finding out more about X, Y, or Z.
More importantly, I like James.
Yes.
Because I think James likes 13.5 mil, so he's in my team.
That does bring me to something as well, is that James is always in, as you mentioned earlier, Jerry, like the comments, always involved in discussions, taking it, answering people's questions, talking about things respectfully and all that kind of things as well, sort of seeing different people's points of view and all that kind of thing too. So just being a well-rounded community member, and genuinely just being a good egg, or ace, as Lloyd said earlier. So yeah.
And apart from obviously showcasing other people's stuff, he has got some terrific projects of his own as well. So
the Macau incident.
The Macau incident was particularly nice.
Yes, I love
where he decided to do some boat.
This is the project that made me buy Master and Commander.
Right, the Black Seas.
And not do any rigging. So
oh well, you wouldn't, would you? Why rig boats?
You've done enough rigging for all of us now, Jerry. So
I've done all the rigging. I never would do anymore. Yeah. But yeah, even things like this, or he's just embarking on a Vietnam game as well, based on NAM 68. And I mean, I think his love of history comes through in these projects as well, where you don't just get, here's some boats that are sailing around doing X, Y, or Z. You get the nitty gritty, the actual historical background behind it, and everything else to boot. All that thread. There's a pair of trousers missing a seam somewhere. But yeah, it's absolutely fantastic seeing his own work, be it boating, NAM, or even into things like black powder and his 28mm Napoleonics, which is something he really does adore. So if you're looking for a really good Lloyd shot of,
look at that.
Of a whole regiment, look at them.
That's a big ass shot.
That's what you'll see as your army marches towards your opponent. Really, you wouldn't even have to paint the front, because the only person who's looking at that is your mate.
This is it. This is why the back's important. That's what you look at the whole time. Saw your opponent.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
In fact, I think it'd be funny if you never painted the front, just to annoy your opponent.
I mean, I'm halfway there, because I never paint any of it. So all I need to do at some point is paint the back.
It's the opposite of Warhammer World, where they only paint the front.
Yeah. The old white dwarf heavy metal stuff. But yeah, it's just he's a terrific guy. His projects, obviously, fantastic historical basis, and then the stuff he does, Shaquin sprues, the reports and the like from across the country, are just a perfect way of presenting these shows and showing that he is reaching out to the community beyond the people who can actually make them as well. So
you can really feel him reaching out through the screen and touching us all.
And joins me for for video night, so that's all good as well.
There you go. Yeah. You can Netflix and chill with Jerry.
Yeah.
And James. Yeah.
In the House of Water, #BestHouse. But that's the only place you'll meet us. Have to do it there. So yes, congratulations, James. Our Andy Zeck Memorial Award winner for 2024. All right then, folks, that is us wrapped up for the Community Awards for 2024. I hope you've enjoyed spending some time with us as we perused your projects, give them a gentle poke, and raised up the ones we thought worthy.
Oh, yes.
As Warren was saying earlier, you're all worthy in a way, but, some of you are more worthy than others.
Yes.
But we do have one more award to give out. It's not technically a community award. It's something better, something bigger, something brighter. It is our Cult of Games Grand Master. Whether they like it or not.
That's the important part. Grandmasters are seized. Not negotiated with, not asked.
Never asked.
No Grandmasters ever asked.
No. Never.
But they are chosen, like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yes.
So
choose the form of your Grandmaster.
Now, in the past, we had our legendary first Grandmaster, who I believe was our Grandmaster for 2 cycles of Grandmastership, possibly. And that was, of course, Sean Connery.
After Sean, it was Boris, my man crush sculptor.
And then last year, we were led by
Caesar.
By Caesar.
Yeah. Render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, and then take it away from him this year.
So who takes us forward into the bright, shining light of 2025?
Well, Ben,
Oh, okay. It's up to me. Oh
It's
my
up
god,
to
this
you.
feels like such responsibility. I've done so much seizing. So our cult grandmaster for this year, whether he likes it or not, is the one and only James, as Jerry says, Hewitt.
There he is with all the little otters.
Looking splendiferous.
It's as if he was made for it.
It is. Good grief, James. You are our leader. We are easily led. So it's like, wow. Just look at the way he cares for those otters.
I know.
Like,
they are snugly fit. We
will all feel safe in the armpits of James M.
That is true. Up to his oxters with otters.
Yes. So James is going to take his place among the legendary list of grandmasters of our cult, the Cult of Games. And so you can imagine if we had, do you know, a bit like Downing Street, Jerry, we'll have our walkway up with all of our grandmasters appearing. And there he is. Check it out. Look at that. Imagine in 10 years from now if we keep this shite going. We'll have loads of these. Look, think about how many individuals we will have pissed off in the industry by seizing them into grandmastership, whether they liked it or not.
None of them have fought back against it or reneged so far. So we must be doing something right.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to the first grandmaster who sends us a cease and desist.
I think they're very afraid. I think they realize, that the power of the cult compels them.
Yeah.
And
is it going to end up being like the Primarchs, where two of them will be shattered and ruined, and no one will know exactly who they were?
I imagine so. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, there's a lot of reasons we picked James Hewitt. Not least of which because he's not managed to escape our grasp in over a decade.
That's true.
Yes.
And I mean, there are some shocking video footage of James, much younger, rocking it with younger, fresh-faced people.
Yes.
Look at that.
Dear.
The Dead Zone sneak peek. Bear in mind, 3rd edition plus Halo, the Dead Zone spin-off, are now out. That sneak peek, that was the start of something great there. Look at the sheer joy on James's face.
It's because he's looking lovingly at me. James is my man crush, you see. So we have a wee thing. Yeah. It's like, Thornton was just in the way there.
Third wheeling it. Terrible Dead Zone blocker.
I know a lot of people remember this, which was your mega build with James, where you sat down and basically, I rewatched this. It's effectively you telling him what to do, not collaborative working. So,
I kind of get like that. I get excited. I get excited. And a bit of a bossy shite at times. So, the mega build. Do you know what? I reckon me and James could get together and do a mega build for Armored Clash. And I get to boss him around and tell him what to do.
It makes a lot of sense.
Look at the love that those two men share. Look at that.
Just two athletes at the peak of their physical prowess.
Absolute peak performance right there. This is the Olympics of terrain building right now.
God bless him.
There he is.
We wanted to embarrass him as much as we did.
Oh, God, yes.
Him, so,
there's no point in doing
that was
this
after I finished with him.
Yeah.
Dear me.
That was after a terrain build, a long terrain building session.
Then he was spent.
This kind of also epitomizes one of the things that we really love about James is that not only is he just a thoroughly awesome dude, but an absolutely amazing designer. Obviously worked with Mantic for ages doing things like Dead Zone and Dreadball. Also worked with Games Workshop, obviously, for a stint. Worked on Blood Bowl there. Worked on a load of side games for Warhammer, like Silver Tower and all those kind of stuff. Gore Chosen, which is one of my favorite little games, really great one of his. And then obviously went back and did stuff with Needy Cat as well. So has worked as a freelancer on different projects. Bought us the fantastic Hellboy alongside Sophie. Hellboy, just awesome design. Love that one. Really, really good game. and a variety of other games as well at the same time. And then now, most recently, you've been working with Warcradle on Armored Clash and doing helping with the design on that front alongside Sophie.
Well, leading the design.
Well, leading the design, yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
he is the lead developer now within that. So
yeah,
James had an extraordinary career so far, and he's still a baby in the grand scheme of things. He really is, and it's But what him and Sophie have achieved over these last few years has been astonishing. Mm-hmm. And I've got to say, it's I love game design, I love game mechanics, and I love the exploration of it. It's kind of a hobby of mine, exploration of game mechanics and stuff. And some of my favorite game mechanics, and some of the most influential on me in terms of my own homebrew and how I approach the design of games, have directly come down from the brain of James M. Hewitt. Yeah, he's been hugely influential on some of my decision making, because his approach to game design is so highly creative. There's nothing cookie cutter about it, and he has such an eye for synergies and how the connectivity between mechanics builds the picture, the flavor of the narrative, and how one thing links to another. He may not like it, but I'm very happy with our choice.
We'll find out in due course.
It's whether you like it or not, we don't care. But we're happy. That's the main thing. So,
right. Well then, folks, we have a new Grandmaster. 2024 is fast coming to an end. And I think this is a good time for us to end as well. Hopefully you've enjoyed the awards, enjoyed the show, and enjoyed being part of the community for another year. And if you're just exciting and new, get involved. That's what it's all about. We will see you in 2025. Until then, have a great year of gaming. Bye-bye.
Cheerio. Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you want to click it. Go on.